It's time for another Coffee with the Curator. What are we doing today, you say? Well, we found a map in our map collection, and I thought I would share it with you. Actually a blueprint, and this is what it looks like. Well, what's interesting about it, it was drawn in 1929 by a man named Albert Hooper. And we don't know who Albert Hooper was, except we think he worked for the oil fields. But what's important about this map is that it shows the names of the Hills of Bradford. Yeah, the hills have names. Well, at least 7 of them do. So today we're going to take the camera and go outside, and we're going to photograph these hills, and I'll tell you what they're called. It's interesting. Everyone should know what surrounds us. Now, in 1926, a promotional brochure put out by the Chamber of Commerce quoted Rufus Barrett Stone. He was one of our prominent historians of the time. And he said Bradford was surrounded by 7 hills, like Rome. Now, Rome's famous for its 7 hills. And I know Bradford has a lot more than 7 hills, but let's go with what Rufus thought. And he has names for them all. Now, they appear on this map, which was drawn in July of 1929. So today we're going to go out and find these mountains, and we're going to see exactly what they're called. I warn you, the weather's not great today, so we'll have to go with it as it goes. Stay tuned. Another Coffee with the Curator is about to begin. Now this is Beacon Mountain. It's the highest hill in the Bradford area at 2,300 feet. And that's Dorothy Lane right in front of me. And I'm actually standing on Quintuple Hill. Dorothy Lane, of course, passes right through the University of Pitt. And over in the distance over there, you can see St. Bernard's Cemetery. Now, some people call this Hedgehog Hill because Hedgehog Lane runs up and down both sides of it. But it's Beacon Mountain. Now, my house is very near here, so every time I look out my front window, I can see Beacon Mountain. Now, the hill directly ahead, behind that dormitory at the University of Pitt, is called Wemmery Hill. And years ago, Larry Richmond and I, who used to run the landmark together before he passed away several years ago, wondered why on earth the name Wemmery was chosen. Well, we finally figured out it's not Wemmery, it's W.H. Emery. And that stands for William Harrison Emery. Now, he's the man that gave this land for the airport to his son Harry. He owned a lot of this whole valley, from St. Bernard's Cemetery all the way down to Clark's Lane. It's kind of natural the hill was to be named after his family. We pronounce it Wemmery, and it's 2,100 feet high. The first hill we're looking at is Mount Newell. It's named after the Newell family, who were early settlers. And right now I'm standing in the parking lot of PNC Bank. You can see the bank drive-through there. This is the hill that can be seen from almost all of Bradford, and it runs above Jackson Avenue. Several of the first oil wells were drilled here, including the Jackson Walker well. Mount Newell, 2,200 feet. This mountain is Quintuple Mountain. I'm standing in St. Bernard's Cemetery, a good ways up, and you can see West Washington Street below me. And on the far side, although you can't see it, West Cordon goes along the base of the hill. Quintuple was named for a couple of reasons. One, it has 5 sort of peaks, and second, the Quintuple Oil Company once owned it. Quintuple's about 2,100 feet, and though it's high, it's not the highest hill in McKean County. That belongs to Prospect Hill over by Smithport. It's not even the tallest in the Bradford area. That belongs to Beacon Mountain. This hillside, you can see some of the hills. The one directly in front of us is Mount Robb. And as I pan to the right, you will see Quintuple Hill, or Quintuple Mountain. These aren't really mountains. If you were out west, you'd laugh and say, come on, they're hills. And they are. But to us, they're mountains. This gives you a pretty good idea of just how big Quintuple Hill is. Now, you can't see it, But my house is right about in this area. And several years ago, when my son Bill was only 15 or so, he had to have an adult go with him to go deer hunting. So I offered to go with him up into the hill. We climbed that hill and climbed that hill. And Bill says, a little bit longer. I went all the way to the top. We did it. We went all the way up and looked down on Congress Street. Yikes, what a climb. The hill right in front of me is Mount Robb. Probably the best known hill in Bradford. It's 2,200 feet, which makes it almost the highest, but not quite. And of course, it's famous for having fireworks shot off there during various festivals. And then in the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan burned a cross on that hill. It's historic. Mount Robb. And this is Kendall Mountain. It's the hill that goes between South Kendall Avenue and the road to Derrick City. It's 2,000 feet high. Not one of our better known hills, but definitely one of them. And this is a picture of Mount Bolivar, or Bolivar Mountain. It's behind the mall, and you can get a really good look at this mountain from the Walmart Plaza up on the hill. They tell me at Walmart, when they see clouds coming over this hill, they know they've got 20 minutes to get everything inside before it gets wet. Bolivar Mountain, 2,000 feet. I know, it looks higher. Now here's a close-up of the map or blueprint that we found in our map collection. You can see the man Albert Hooper did some very detailed drawings of the hills. And the first thing you might ask yourself is, well, how old are these hills that surround Bradford? And it might surprise you to know they are 300 million years old. Yeah, let me repeat that. 300 million years old. Now some people believe these hills were formed by the glaciers, but they weren't. Not in this part of Pennsylvania, anyway. These hills were formed by something else. And I found an article, and I'm going to read you part of it, because it explains how these hills happen to be. It begins, about 300 million years ago, layers of sand, silt, clay, and lime sediments were laid down in this area of the continent in freshwater inland seas. And this is true, because you can find rocks with fossils in them all over. Up behind my house on Quintuple Hill, I've often seen rocks with fossils of seashells and things like that. That's the inland sea that was here 300 million years ago. And the elevation of the area was subsequently raised to or above its present elevation. The extreme pressure created during this uplifting and the weight of the sediments over a long period of time consolidated these areas into sandstone, siltstone, shale, limestone, and coal. The area became known as the Allegheny Plateau. Millions of years of additional uplifting and subsiding geological erosion and stream cutting changed the nearly level surface of much of the plateau to a highly rolling and hilly relief. And when you look at these hills and say to yourself, 300 million years ago, huh? So pay attention to the hills that surround us and appreciate them. Because like Rufus Barrett Stone said, they are the sentinels against all storms.